Be in prayer for a wallet. One of the workers who put so much time in misplaced his wallet this weekend. And I don't know if any of you have ever lost your wallet and the pain that is. And I just am praying, I've been praying most of the morning that God would lead and direct him right to it. One time I remember I couldn't find my wallet for about a week, and I went through all my suits and everything and went everything else and couldn't find it, and finally got frustrated at the end of the week, so I went back through my suits, and one of the suits where I know I checked the pockets, it appeared there, and I know I probably missed it, but then again, I'm not so sure I did. Because I checked, and then it appeared. God does amazing things. This morning, we're going to start a new section of sermons, and they're all going to deal with the big questions about God. And we're going to start with probably the biggest one, and that is there a God? This seems to be a no-brainer, but in our society today, I don't believe we are in a post-Christian society. I almost believe we're in a pre-Christ society, where the option of Christ is not accepted anymore, but it's just one philosophy among many that are fighting for the attention of people. In our day and age right now, truth has been described as relative and God optional. And I hate to say this, but it's mostly, in most of our Christian churches, that is true. Because what happens is throughout our nation, we have people going to church every week, but not anticipating or expecting God to be alive and active in their lives. And if you want to know what that is a textbook definition of atheism. Atheism is the belief that there is no supreme being that will affect your life. So you can have the right set of beliefs, but if those beliefs aren't put into practice in your rank and file daily life, you're an atheist. Jesus doesn't have anything to do with me. God's no part of our world. He sort of wound it up and let it go. Now, what has happened is theologians have tried to soften that, and they've come up with the term agnostic. It's not agnosticism. Well, I believe in a God, he's just not active. That's the same as not believing in God. So what I want to do is I want to approach basically what we are dealing with in our world and give you some understanding of why I am so convinced. Now, I need you to understand that there is no way we can prove God beyond a shadow of a doubt. Exactly. It's God never meant to prove himself. He just stated, I'm here. Do you want to believe in me? But one thing that I need to also express is there's no way you can prove God is not here. That what you are doing is you are developing competing philosophies on life. And what has happened is this secular philosophy has basically entered into our world, that our educational system basically says this: there was this big bang, and all of a sudden these planets came into being, and out of the ooze of this swamp-like creation became single-celled creatures that divided and became multiple-celled creatures that became fish, and fish developed lungs and came on land, and it went that way. That basically what has happened is there is this giant cosmic accident that happened over and over and over again. And then we're here. That there isn't a set order. That what we have is just dumb luck that happened. Okay? Think about it. If we are products of chance, of luck, then what we have is we have no stable truth. We have no direction, and thus each one of us come to the table with our own opinion. And Nancy, what would make me think your opinion is better than mine? Of course, my opinion is better than yours. Think about it. We have people who say today that you can decide your gender. It's not what your DNA says. It's not what your body part says. It's, I get to decide. So today I'm feeling feminine, so I'm a girl. Am I pretty?
No.
Okay, I don't want to be a girl anymore. Now I'm a guy. Girl, guy. Girl, guy. I get to choose. Biology has nothing to do with it. That's where that thought process comes to. If everything is by chance, then we get to choose. So, number one, what started it all? We had a Big Bang. What caused the Big Bang? You'd think there has to be a start somewhere. You can't just say something is created. Create something. Make me a car. Come on, do a race. Come on, magic. No, real magic. I want to see something out of you. Everything has an original start. Now, what we have is people saying science is settled. Really? You can tell me what happened a billion years ago. For sure. You know for a fact. I can't remember what I had for lunch last month or last week. And you're going to tell me that you know for sure how things started. Well, there was a Big Bang. What caused the Big Bang? That's one of the arguments for God, is everything has to have a start. Okay? What's the cause? 2, complexity. There was a group of philosophers in a movie called A Flock of Dodos. And they were talking about how silly it was to believe in a creator or a grand designer. And they said anything can be explained. And I want to go, yeah, anything can be explained, because I have two boys who have explained everything to me. It didn't mean what they were explaining was necessarily true. Anybody with kids? They can explain to forever. You see, it was like the car, I was driving, and I hit this slick patch that I didn't see the slick patch. Son, you were driving home in a snowstorm. But I only entered 20 feet off of the road. Remember that, son? You didn't even tell us about it. You went and called your buddy who runs a tow truck, who told us later. It wasn't my fault. I was driving safe.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah. The snow was up to the top of the car.
I just wanted to go home fast.
But those were the explanations that we get. And its complexity. Our Earth won the planet lottery. Okay? You need to think about all the things that need to happen for this Earth to hold light. Do you know that we are around the perfect star for our Earth to hold light? The way it is constructed and the chemicals that it produces and the solar flares and all those things aid life on this planet. Do you know that we are the perfect distance away from the sun? If we were a little farther away, we would freeze to death. If we were a little closer, it would dry up all the water. Do you know that we have the perfect tilt to our planet? So that as we rotate around the sun and as we rotate as a planet, it keeps us cool. It helps us to live and breathe. The temperature between 30 below and 120 above is absolutely perfect for life. Okay? Let's talk about the moon. We have the perfect moon for our planet. Because if we didn't have a moon, we wouldn't have tides, and all our water would stagnate. But the tides enable that water to move, and it becomes almost like a lung for our planet. Isn't it lucky that all those things happen? That God gave us the perfect atmosphere. He gave us the perfect substance for us to survive, which is water. Again, water has such a low freezing point and such a high boiling point that it is mostly available for us to do all types of things. And if you think about the freezing point of water, how it cools things and refreshes, and if you think about the boiling point of water, well, let's be honest. The boiling point of water, 212 degrees, is what settled our nation. It's what's built our buildings. Steam. You see, we have all these things that are happening that are just lucky. Let's talk about mankind. Now, when Darwin basically started this whole evolutionary thing, he didn't think much of substances, that it was much for things to change and to regenerate. But the more study we have, every single cell within us is filled with our DNA. You can get an operation to take you from being a man to a woman, supposedly, but every single cell inside of you will still say, you are what you were when you were born. It is so specific. You know, the argument for abortion is that inside of a woman is a blob of tissue until that baby is born, then it becomes a person. The more science we have, we've discovered when there's brain function, we've discovered when the heart beats. In fact, we have surgery on babies in the womb. But it's an accident. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist anymore. The more you look around you, and that's what the writer in the book of Romans was saying. You see a tree, do you see the miracle in that tree? If you don't, make one. Do you see the birds up above? Do you see the preciousness of life? Do you understand all the things that happen to bring you to this place in life? And that there is a God in heaven that seeks to be a part of who you are and what you are becoming. How do you not see God? Anybody who's ever had a child, anybody who has had a friend. Last but not least, we have morality. And morality is that it is almost universal of right and wrong. Now, we have societies that run away from God. Okay? And they call fresh water bitter and bitter water fresh. Okay? You can see, I had a young lady in class one time that was telling me how no society is really wrong, because everybody has their own truth. And I said, so the burning and the gassing and burning of Jews was wonderful. You'd be for that. And she goes, you're just silly. And I said, I can see your ankle, because she was wearing shorts. And I said, so I can beat you with a stick now for being immodest. You're just close-minded. But that's what happens in Afghanistan. When the Taliban runs upon a woman whose ankle might show. We know that's wrong. Let me give you the best illustration. The flood in Houston. An old farmer got into his boat, saved 225 people. Who thinks that's cool? Why do you think it's cool? Because the Christ in you says that's what people should do. It's what it is. We want to help. And it's universal. Liberals, conservatives, everybody. like the fact that people went out to help each other. Put that there. God did. Can I tell you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, can I come up with any argument? Because here's what happens. I can sit down and talk with someone and give them all these facts, and they'll just go, yeah, that's sweet. That's your truth. Because there is no truth to them. Doesn't mean it's not. But the day and age has come and gone where we can say, I believe that because that's what my church told me. It's relationship. Is there a God? Yes, there is. Can you meet him? Only if you want to. You can deny his presence. You can run away from him because that's what God allows us to do, because he will never force himself on us. But I can honestly tell you that I am convinced beyond any shadow of a doubt in the reality of God. Do I doubt at times? Absolutely. You get those moments. They're fleeting for me these days, because I've been doing this for so long, it's like putting on a pair of shoes. Do I want to wear shoes? Yep, so I'm walking outside. I think I'll put them on. Do sometimes I walk without them? Yes, and I regret it. There is a God who loves you so very much. Can you prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt, Pastor? No. And God wouldn't have me. Because he wants to develop his own relationship with each and every one of you through faith. You're going to have to take that step. Now, it's not a it's not a gigantic step into oblivion. It's not a check your brains at the door. Because if you look at things, and here is how one professor at the University of Wisconsin says. He said, you work out two frameworks, worldviews. You work a worldview out without God. And I will work my worldview out with God. And I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, my worldview with God makes a whole lot more sense than everything happened by accident. Could you imagine carrying somebody over to South Dakota to look at Mount Rushmore and pull them alongside of you and say, see that? It just happened. The wind blew against that mountain, and all of a sudden, those four faces appeared. Honest. See this watch? I had metal and glass and some gears in a drawer, and I dropped the drawer, and the watch was there. Honest. If there's a creation, there's a creator. If there's art, there's an artist. If there is order, there's a leader. If there's a world, there is a designer. Or not. It's up to you. Amen? Stand with me, please. Lord Jesus, we come before you and ask that you would be in all and through all. we open up our heart to you because you love us. And in fact, Jesus, you love us more than we could ever imagine. Help us to see your handiwork. Help us to trust in your love and your presence. And help us to walk with you. Let's sing with Karen. Put it this way. If you believe that things just happen, it would be like believing 10 followed by 100 zeros. Blind people were all handed Rubik's Cubes, and they solved them all at precisely the same time. What are the odds of this just happening? I don't know about you, I'm not blind and I still can't solve a Rubik's Cube. Jesus, thank you for not calling us just to be servants or just members of a church, but you have called us into relationship with you as members of your family, because it is you that taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.